Hi, my name is Daisy Lee Gaston, and I was born on November 11, 1914 in Huntington, Arkansas. During my childhood years, I was marked with tragedy. My mother was sexually assaulted and murdered by 3 white men, and my father fled for his life, abandoning me. After that, I was fortunate enough to be raised by friends of the family in the foster system. Later, a couple adopted me named Susie Smith and Orly Smith. I grew up attending a black segregated school in Huntington. At the age of 15, I met my future husband, Lucius Christopher Bates, an insurance agent and experienced journalist who lived in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. Following the death of my loving foster father, I moved to Memphis in 1932. On March 4, 1942, me and Mr. Bates married and moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. Together we operated the Arkansas State Press, a weekly African-American newspaper. The paper campaigned civil rights. This is where my husband was named editor of the paper, and shortly after I joined in the civil rights movement. Then I became the president of Arkansas chapter of the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, in 1952. In the year of 1954, the United States Supreme Court declared the school segregationist was unconstitutional in the life-changing case of Brown v. Board of Education. Even after the Supreme Court ruling, African American students who tried to enroll in white schools were turned away in Arkansas. My husband and I recorded this battle for equal education in our newspaper. In the year of 1957, I helped 9 African American students enter the first unified high school, Central, in Little Rock, who later became known as the Little Rock Nine. The group of students first tried to attend school on September 4th. Where a group of angry whites taunted them as they arrived. The governor at the time, Orville Faubus, opposed school integration and members of the Arkansas National Guard to keep the students from entering or coming near the school. Despite the extent of hostility they faced from white residents of the city, the students were still determined to complete their mission. Following these events, my hometown Little Rock became the headquarters of the battle to integrate Central High School, and I served as a personal advocate and supporter to the students. Even President Dwight D. Eisenhower became involved in the conflict and ordered federal troops to go to Little Rock to uphold the laws and protect the Little Rock Nine. With U.S. soldiers providing security, the Little Rock Nine left my home for their very first day on September 25, 1957. Overall, I remain close with the Little Rock Nine, offering my continuous support as they faced harassment and intimidation from people against desegregation. I was in constant contact with the NAACP leaders and constant war with segregationists using intimidation in Arkansas. For much of the year, I was in daily contact with the national office of the NAACP in New York as many segregationists battled to destroy the NAACP in Arkansas. On occasion, I would receive constant threats and attacks on my home, forcing us to stand guard nightly. In recognition for my leadership, the National Association Press chose me in 1957 as the Woman of the Year in Education and one of the top 10 newsmakers in the world in 1959. As a result, invitation by news distributors and a boycott white business owners who withheld advertisement, my husband and I were forced to close the Arkansas State Press. 3 years after the closing of our paper, I moved to New York to write my memoir, The Long Shadows of Little Rock. In February of 1963, my husband and I divorced, and only briefly. Then we were remarried in July of the same year. Soon after remarriage, my hard work was recognized. I was the only female to speak at the Lincoln Memorial at the March on Washington on August 28, 1963. I also moved to Washington, D.C. the same year to work for the Democratic National Committee on Anti-Poverty Projects for Lyndon B. Johnson administration. In 1962, I moved to the all-black town of Mitchellville to become an extensive director of the Community Economic Opportunity Agency, a federal anti-poverty program. This began a new phase in my life where I committed to demonstrated that poor African Americans could achieve economic self-stability in partnership with government. Also secured grants and donations for several improvements in the community, including a sewer system, a Head Start program. After the death of my husband, I was able to revive the Arkansas State Press in 1984, and I ended up being financially successful. I sold the paper in 1988 to Janus and Darley Lunan. Only a few years later, I died of a heart attack on November 4, 1999.